But what about celibacy? If celibacy were an option, would fewer priests fall into situational abuse? Well, we know that the vast majority of sexual violence in our culture is perpetuated by men, by heterosexual men who are sexually active, right? And that the vast majority of sexual priests do not rape or abuse children or adults, right? The numbers from the John Jay report of 4 to 5% are about the same as the regular culture, and even if we include the broader swath of people that I'm saying we should include, it's likely that the numbers for both groups would go up. Santa Clara psychologist Thomas Plant says that the absence of sexual activity doesn't transform a person into a pedophile or an abuser. But celibacy could still be a factor. Most analysts cite poor formation for celibacy, especially in the generation of priests who were born in the 30s and 40s, ordained in the 50s and 60s, where we see this peak. Right? The extensive data analysis provided by Clara, which is consistent with other studies, shows that abuse peaked, as we saw, in the late 60s through the early 80s, falling to fewer than 22 new cases from 2015 to 2017. So Clara draws the conclusion that the generational cohort was particularly vulnerable, and they link that to poor formation for celibacy, among other factors. To those who argue that new cases are more likely to come to later due to the lag time, the Clara analysts show that if that were true, we would still expect to see the curve move over time. But in fact, the peak, even as the generations, as people age, the peak stays with that one generation. So they argue it is not likely that we will see the graph go back up again. Right? So we want to look at what was going on with that generation. Right?